My Mittleider garden has been under wraps for a week now. We've had freezing weather every night, winds up to 40 miles an hour, and the mini greenhouses have worked great. I've been completely satisfied with how well they held up. I was quite surprised that just this tree mulch held them down. As you can see, after a week of beating and severe winds, extreme cold, they're still doing great. Now, since I have these against the house here and the one over here against the wall, I wasn't able to really pack down the plastic, or at least put tree mulch over the plastic to hold it down. So what I did do is I took some of my 10-foot treated 2x4s and just laid it down between the house or the fence and on top of the plastic. Hopefully you can see that down inside there. And that worked great, was very easy, and did the job extremely well. So I'm going to keep these 10-foot long 2x4s specifically for this task. We've got some warmer weather. We've got 60% chance of rain and thunderstorms today and 90% tomorrow. The temperature is above freezing. These are going to come off today. It's Monday. It's time for the weekly feed, and they'll get some direct sunlight and some fresh rainwater. Let's see how they did and if the plants grew during this week-long undercover period. Well, the first thing I noticed after taking the plastic off is that the plants are in great health. They're nice and green, they're firm. That means they've gotten all the water that they need, which means the automatic watering system has been working. And I noticed that the broccoli is doing really well. Notice all the broccoli heads here. The lettuce is growing, the greens are growing. This one has gone to seed. We really need to get that out and start eating this lettuce here. But everything is looking really good in this bed here. I think one of the important things of the weekly feed is that it forces you to get into the garden, take a look at your garden. The pak choy is really doing great. I mean, just amazing here. Good growth. Look at the size of these leaves. They're nice, deep, good color. The Brussels sprouts have just exploded in growth. They've at least doubled in a week. I just can't believe the difference in the size. These plants have never looked better. I think being protected from the wind and the cold has really, really helped them out. Wait till you see what I have here next. These beets and this entire bed here, of course, has not been covered because I don't have my greenhouse plastic yet. I've got to get that ordered and in here before we really get into the really harsh part of winter. So these have been exposed. They look fine. The plants are growing. You can see the beets under here are doing well. They still got quite some time to go, but not as big as they can be or need to be. But over in this bed with the cabbage and the broccoli, the cabbage now is forming heads. You can see this one is already tightened up, is making that cabbage head there. These have really grown very well, where before they didn't have the heads forming. Now each of these plants have cabbage heads forming. But the big difference, what demonstrates how important it is to cover your plants, are these broccolis. These broccoli are doing fabulously well. The broccoli heads were not as large as the broccoli heads over in the uncovered bed. But let's do a comparison here between these broccolis and the broccolis that were probably 50% larger in the other bed. This broccoli here in this bed was my largest broccoli head without a question. It's definitely not the case any longer. So that was the largest one over here in this open bed. Over here, every one of these broccoli heads is now larger than what used to be the largest broccoli head that I had in the other garden. Having your plants in a greenhouse, or in this case a mini greenhouse, substantially makes a difference in their health and growth and production. Now I'm going to take a step back so you can visually see the difference between exposed and covered plants as far as their health. I hope you can see the difference here. With these plants, they look fine. You wouldn't notice that there was anything wrong with them until you compare them to how lush and green the plants over here look that were in the mini greenhouse. I'm going to try to zoom in here a little bit, see if that works. But notice the deep, rich color. They've both been watered just as much. They've both been fed the exact same weekly feed in the exact same amounts. But the difference between the health of the plants, simply because they were protected from the elements, is quite dramatic. I really do love the Mittleider gardening method. It definitely makes a difference in the plant's health and production. The last bed that was covered is my red onions and my strawberries. These are all looking great, good growth. You can tell they've really jumped up in their growth in the last week. And over here on the strawberry plants, I can't believe how many new strawberries have been put on in a week. And they're developing great. Look at the beautiful strawberries down there. So yes, having a mini greenhouse and feeding weekly with the Mittleider weekly feed makes a big difference in your plants. Like I mentioned in my last video last week, it's winter, it's cold, it's not really a great time to be out in the garden if you're in a really cold climate. But this is the time you want to get your garden planned, you want to get it laid out, you want to get your supplies and things organized, your seeds, so you can get started as soon as spring comes and you're ready to get outside. Go to the links below this video, click on the growfood.com/bestdeal link and review the Mittleider gardening method materials and supplies at that website. I encourage you to take a look and consider buying the book that I use all the time and review over and over and have dog-eared and highlighted, and that is the Mittleider gardening course book. I encourage you to get the micronutrients. I think they call it the magic mineral pack. $15 will make you 60 pounds of fertilizer when you mix it with the other components that you get from the local stores. In the book, it has a layout for your garden. You can draw it out. You can decide what you want to plant where, how big the beds you want to make, and really helps you get started properly. Teaches you how to build either the grow boxes or the soil beds. Both methods work great. Now's the time to do that, and if you do, you'll be able to have beautiful plants and great production like we're having here in this garden. This is LDS Prepper reminding you, if you are prepared, you shall not fear. And if you use the Mittleider gardening method, the course material and the fertilizer, you'll have wonderful, beautiful harvests, and gardening will be a true joy to you.